Yeah, hey Mark, by the way. I
Hey,
know about your
got your
process and
glasses
I
back.
see it. I have the glasses back as you recommended before. I've seen your process before and it's interesting because when you're in Oracle, you're often not dealing with the Warriors. You're often sort of visiting with the visiting team. Well, it's a good place to be. You get to be one of those national writers who really isn't writing about the game that night, but they're doing other stuff. And what I want to know is how do you get to be one of those guys who isn't writing a recap of the game that night and is there for a totally different reason and gets to be one of the cool guys that way?
Well, I guess I've been around for a while. I've been covering NBA since '99. I covered the Nuggets for 8 years. Was there for Celtics. Covered them when they won the championship. Covered them for 2 years. So I guess I just paid my dues and got lucky and was in the right place at the right time. And Yahoo gave me this opportunity. We
Uh-oh.
really, he was in New York and I was in Boston, and they basically picked us home. So it's good being up here in NorCal because I could go to Warriors games and go to Kings games and see a lot of games that way without getting on a plane. But we'll see how much longer the Kings options there. But
Well,
I had been gone from home for 14 years, and this brought me back, so it's been great.
well, that's actually something I wanted to ask you about. It's odd because the Warriors aren't a good team, and there isn't a whole lot of focus on them, and all the focus in basketball seems to be on the Eastern time zone. That's where the news is, and yet I see you at Oracle. I often see Sam Amick at Oracle, and he's also at the Sacramento games. I've seen Bucher used to be there a lot. And I'm wondering, is there an advantage to being in a stadium to make your connections and to do what you do at a place that isn't at the center of the storm and where there isn't so much attention?
Well, I'm predicated in a lot of ways on the schedule, on who's coming in, and making the best with that. And a lot of teams actually also, because of the love for San Francisco and love for the Bay Area, they might stay an extra day or two, so you might be able to catch a team in practice or something like that. But with two teams here, I mean, and especially with this 66 game schedule and so many teams coming in and out, you're going to see a lot of basketball, and you're there all the time. It's like we're not used to the back-to-back home games. You didn't see that before, but that's what we're going to be accustomed to this season. And either there's a lot of games coming in at one time, or there's hardly any games at all. And I think we're about to be in that stretch where there's not going to be that much basketball in the Bay, and I'll probably be up in Sacramento a lot more, but also travel a lot more. I mean, obviously All Stars coming. There's some other big games, New York Miami game. I'm going to go to that before going to Orlando, and then I'm also going to check out the Heat when they play the Lakers early next month. Celtics come out this way, so I think there's going to be some more exciting games that might get me on the road. But so far, the way the schedule has happened, I've been lucky to get a lot of games just down the street.
Do you like that kind of lifestyle? I mean, I'm always impressed by guys who do a lot of travel and guys who, have to be on the road a lot. I think that fans and readers don't often really think about that aspect. They just want the content. They don't think about what goes into it. And I'm wondering, since you probably travel less than you used to when you were more on the
Yeah.
strict beat, but do you like the road? Do you like, going to so many games around the country, or is it lonely and sort of not fun to deal with?
At first when I started covering the Nuggets, it was great, man. I remember my first trip. I went to Vancouver. Was so excited. I emailed all my friends. I'm like, hey, I get to go on the road with the Nuggets. This is cool. And then I like stayed at their hotel. I remember I ordered some chicken wings that were like the best, the most phenomenal looking chicken wings in the world. I didn't even want to eat them the way they made them look like lollipops or something. And I was so excited then, and then years later, I'm like, man, I'm worn out. I remember when I covered the Celtics that year, I had moved to Boston in like late August of 2007, barely put my bags down. Went to Rome, went to London, covered pretty much all their games, and then they played like 18 playoff games. And by the time the season was over, I almost, everybody. It was weird. Everybody that was covering the team had a really bad chest cold, damn near pneumonia. It was so that was probably the most worn out that I've been. But with this job now, most of my travel is during the playoffs. We kind of pick big games here and there, get the features that we can, the news that we can, and but come playoff time, with the Warriors and the Kings not doing anything, that's when I'm really on the road, and that's not going to change until they make the playoffs, and I don't see that with either team this season.
So you're going to be on the road a lot, I guess, is what we get from that. People are begging me to ask you about actual basketball. I could ask about your process and what you do forever, but I probably should shift this and ask about the J.R. Smith situation. What's the deal with that, and how do you see that playing out?
Well, how should I answer this? It seems like New York.
Don't
He's
blow your
from New
scoop.
York, but people think he's going to New York. I think the Clippers still might be able to slide in there. Remember, he played with uh, he played with Chris Paul. A lot of people forget that he played with Chris Paul in New Orleans. Chauncey Billups is in his ear, former teammate. Kenyon Martin, former teammates in his ear. The difference is the money is less with the Clippers, but in New York, yeah, it's more. But I just think if he thinks about it, the Clippers situation is definitely intriguing as well because he could go in there and start at shooting guard. And now some could debate who has a stronger need for him. Both great options. With some of his troubled past, I wonder if being in New York is a good thing for him. Being close to home, being in New Jersey, where obviously he's had his past issues, maybe a great thing or a bad thing. So until he's signed, until it's sealed, trust me, the Clippers are going to still try to move in there and change his mind. And I'm here, he's flying back. That's a long flight. I've taken that flight before. He's flying back, and I think if he's smart, he'll let both teams give him a face-to-face presentation on what he should do instead of just jumping off the plane and making a decision.
I think I'm required by law to ask for your
I
Dwight
wouldn't
Howard
rush about
prediction.
him. I'd really think about it. Wow. What's that? I'm
No,
sorry.
I was saying that I'm required by law to ask for your Dwight Howard prediction for next year because that's what all the guys in the know are being asked about. I think I'd like to have your Dwight Howard and Darren Williams prediction as long as you're not scooping yourself. Like where do you see the both of them ending up?
Dwight, in January, I talked to him and he thought he was going to stick around through the All Star break. He knew that they desperately wanted him in their uniform during the All Star break. And if they're going to make the trade, which I think they should make for Andrew Bynum, I don't know why they want to put themselves through the ringer this All Star weekend when all we're going to do is ask about Dwight. Dwight this, Dwight that. Is Dwight staying? Is Dwight going? What kind of response is he going to get Sunday? I think it's going to really put a black cloud on the weekend. Had they made the trade for Bynum, they could have celebrated Bynum, booed Dwight, and moved on. I mean, to me, Bynum's the only other great center in the league that they could acquire, and the Lakers seem open-minded to it. And at the same time, I could see why the Lakers want Dwight. At some point, Kobe's going to move on. They're going to need a guy that could take the torch from Kobe, and right now, they definitely have to be worried because the Clippers and have two superstars in Chris Paul and Blake Griffin. How are they going to match that once Kobe's done?